Y'all ready? It's time to talk ball with Spunky Spectrum. Let's ride! Ow. Woke up in the morning, coffee in my hand, another season about to start. I'm the fantasy man, scouting sleepers, crunching numbers late at night, building rosters that gon' shine under them lights. From rookie watch to big revenge, I see it all, stacking points while the league's watching me ball. Best ball drafting, no waivers, just pure skill. I'm taking shots, watch the whole league getting killed. Yeah, the grind don't stop, the picks stay high. When the money's on the line, I connect the dots. We're talking fantasy football, best ball drafting deep. Spunky Spectrum spinning, put a league to sleep. 15 grand on DraftKings, cashed it like a king. Now the whole damn country know I run this thing. Yeehaw, raise them up, another W in the books. Fantasy king, got the trophies and the looks. From the podcast mic to the big check in my hand, this is Spunky Spectrum boys, the fantasy man.
Yo, Big D here, and we're talking franchises that have moved this Sunday evening. Driving to the Top Productions, Spunky Spectrum Sports, also on my own personal Facebook page, and the Big D 3300. None of those letters will be capitalized. Also, Driving to the Top on Twitch, and oh boy, yeah. So, tried to figure out a show for this week because we've got the World Cup coming up, and there will be plenty of World Cup content coming. But I'm like, the Bears could be moving to Hammond, Indiana. So I'm like, franchises that have moved, and plenty of franchises have moved. Have moved in the four major sports: baseball, NBA, NFL, and NHL. And I'm going to talk about Major League Baseball first. We all remember the Braves, right? Well, how about this? The Braves have won world championships in Boston, Milwaukee, and Atlanta. Of course, the Boston Braves won the 1914 World Series. Then they ended up in Milwaukee, won the 57 World Series, and then moved to Atlanta in the late 60s, and then won the 1995 and 2021 World Series. So it's weird. Hank Aaron played large chunks of his career in Milwaukee, but then Atlanta. In fact, Hank Aaron ended up, finishing his career with the Milwaukee Brewers. Another team that moved. When the Milwaukee Braves left in '66, the city of Milwaukee didn't have a franchise. And when the Seattle Pilots ran out of money shortly before the 1970 season, Bud Selig ended up getting the franchise from Seattle to Milwaukee, and that team became the Brewers. And they ended up playing at County Stadium. So, and then of course Miller Park, and now the Brewers have been in Milwaukee for 50-something years. So it's funny how one team moves. And now the St. Louis Browns. Remember, I think it was the 44 World Series was played. 44 World Series was played entirely at Sportsman's Park. Between the St. Louis Cardinals and St. Louis Browns. Well, then the St. Louis Browns, after the '53 season, went to Baltimore and became the Orioles. And then the Orioles went through, from 1966 to 1983, the Orioles went through the best 18-year run in franchise history. They won world championships in '66, 1970, 1983, pennants in '69. Well, 66, 69, 70, 71, 79, and 83. And frankly, the Orioles were just a model of consistency. Mostly on the whole, but always great pitching, always great defense, and always great fundamental play. Jim Palmer was the best pitcher in the 1970s. At least could go 300 innings, throwing one fastball after another. Mark Belanger was an amazing defensive shortstop. Boot Powell could slug at first base better than most. Frank Robinson, I obviously remember his first year when he hit for the Triple Crown and led the O's to a World Series over the Dodgers. 4-game sweep over the Dodgers in '66. Davey Johnson, really underrated player with the O's during his time. Brooks Robinson, if there were a human vacuum cleaner at third base, Brooks Robinson would be that guy, because nobody played third base like Brooks Robinson did. I think he won 16 Gold Gloves. 16 Gold Gloves. And I bet you Sparky Anderson in heaven says this to Brooks Robinson today. That's the best defensive series I've ever seen a third baseman play. I mean, he made a play going so far to his right and then throwing out throwing out the hitter. It's a remarkable play. And then, of course, he hit a few home runs. And last play of the World Series, I remember Kirk Gowdy said, "Probably it's Robinson." Yeah, that was Brooks Robinson at his heyday in 1970, with the O's winning their second World Championship. Another one, the Athletics. Boy, this has been an interesting one. How about Connie Mack and the Philadelphia A's for the first half of the 19th century? Then the A's went to Kansas City, and then went from Kansas City to the Bay Area, became the Oakland A's, and we remember what happened there. They're winning 3 straight World Championships, 72, 73, 74. Of course, winning the Earthquake World Series in 1989, doing the middle of 3 straight pennant runs under Tony La Russa. And now, the A's are in Sacramento in the middle of their 3-year stint there before moving to Vegas in 2028. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the A's when they go to Vegas, because, obviously indoor games, but will Vegas support the A's just like they do the Raiders? Now, we know Vegas is a transient area, and we know that when the Raiders play a home game, they'll often have a lot of fans from the other team, like when the Steelers go there, the Broncos go there, the Packers, the Chiefs, the Cowboys. There were thousands of fans for the other team. I mean, when the Bears went to Vegas, thousands of fans from Chicago, Denver, Green Bay would say, "Hey, let's go to Vegas anyway and make this a fun weekend. We can go watch our team play." So it's funny how fans will look at a situation and think, "Hey, you know what? Let's go to Vegas for a weekend and watch our team play." Will the A's garner the same attention like the Raiders, like the Vegas Golden Knights, winning a Stanley Cup final, playing another Stanley Cup final in 2018, and now up 2-1 in this year's Stanley Cup final over the Carolina Hurricanes? And by the way, I've got something about the Hurricanes too. Probably baseball's biggest move was after the '57 season, when the Giants and Dodgers moved from Brooklyn and New York respectively to the West Coast, because no baseball team was west of Kansas City then. There were no Seattle Mariners or Colorado Rockies or Arizona Diamondbacks. And frankly, the country needed it. Sports needed it. because, baseball was growing. It wasn't just played in Boston, New York, Chicago, or St. Louis. Baseball needed something on the West Coast. I mean, could you imagine today? No LA Dodgers or San Francisco Giants or San Diego Padres. The country needed it. California was booming. Boom. And yeah, logistics of flying 3,000 miles from New York to LA, but with commercial aviation, plus the fact that one team couldn't go to California because why would a team be at a huge disadvantage flying two time zones on every road trip, if not 3 time zones? At least this way, a team could play in San Francisco and Los Angeles. And by the way, when the Giants moved, I think they played in like Seal Stadium, which was a minor league facility. You imagine Willie Mays playing in a minor league facility, or Willie McCovey, or Orlando Cepeda. That's saying something. Or Willie Mays playing in a minor league facility. And when the Dodgers moved to LA, Dodger Stadium wasn't built. So the Dodgers ended up playing their home games at the LA Coliseum, where the left field was 251 feet. Oh, gosh. Thank you, Julian. Hi, Noah. Hi, Christopher. Elena, wait, what is your name? My name is, Elena. My name is Dylan, Dylan, the greatest name in the history of mankind. Thank you for asking. And you imagine a pitcher giving up a 255-foot home run. I mean, imagine a home run at Fenway or Yankee Stadium with the short porches. A home run that small doesn't even feel like a home run. That happened. And right center field was about 455 feet at the Coliseum. But they did get 93,000 fans for the 59 World Series. But I think Dodger Stadium's a little better for baseball. I don't know about you. I think Dodger Stadium a little better for baseball. But the rivalry between the Giants and Dodgers was ferocious in New York. Two teams, frankly, New York and Brooklyn, two cities that didn't like each other, two fan bases that despise one another. And today, you think of New York and of Los Angeles and San Francisco, the rivalries, I don't know if it will ever be what it was in New York, but still spicy. Remember that great 2021 pennant chase where both teams won over 100 games, but the Dodgers ended up winning Game 5 of that crazy NLDS. That's which ended on a check swing. Bad way to end the series. But hopefully the Giants can make that rivalry less one-sided than it is today. Washington Senators, not once, but twice. Until 1961, baseball had never expanded for 60 years, from 1901 to 1960. But 1961 was MLB's first expansion, when the Senators and California Angels came. The Senators ended up moving. The original Senators franchise ended up moving from Washington to Minnesota, became the Minnesota Twins. A new Senators franchise came. So the Senators moved, but then came into existence. And then after the 71 season, the second Washington Senator franchise moved and became the Texas Rangers. So I believe that team was managed by Ted Williams. Yes. Of that, Pilots became Brewers 1970. By the way, for a while, I think it was either 91 or 92. It looked like the San Francisco Giants were going to end up in St. Petersburg, and a new ownership came, and then the Giants got Barry Bonds, and Darnell ended up winning the NL West, being the Braves that year. San Francisco won 103 games for nothing in 93. And then the Montreal Expos became the Washington Nationals. Now, really, Olympic Stadium Montreal was not really a great baseball facility. A lot like Turner Field was for the 96 Olympics. Olympic Stadium was built for the 76 Summer Olympics. Not really the best baseball venue. And so the Expos became the Nationals, now playing in Nationals Park, of course. So I think when the Nationals saw, they ended up starting at RFK Stadium, and now, of course, playing Nationals Park. So funny how things change. Senators leave, come back, leave. Now the Expos become the Senators. So, what else is going to happen? I mean, let's see, it could be teams. I mean, will there be any expansion teams coming? But, we're years away from that happening. NBA, well, obviously, first one. How about this? The Minneapolis Lakers become the Los Angeles Lakers. Well, obviously, the Lakers saw what the Dodgers did. I'm like, you know what? We're going to leave for LA too. And I think the Lakers ended up winning 15 or 16 titles. 15 or 16 of their titles in Los Angeles. So I think it worked out. The Buffalo Braves, not baseball, basketball, became the San Diego Clippers, and then the Clippers moved from San Diego to Los Angeles, which is how there are two NBA franchises in Los Angeles, but now they play a different arena. So crazy how things change. The Vancouver Grizzlies became the Memphis Grizzlies. I think we would all concur that Vancouver is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. Such a brilliant city to visit, vacation, have a lot of fun there. But for NBA teams, Vancouver was a nightmare. Because flying through customs, and you imagine flying from Vancouver to Miami. That'd be 6.5, 7 hours and customs. So the Vancouver Grizzlies became the Memphis Grizzlies. So now easier travel for like Atlanta to Memphis or whatever. Boy, how about this one? The Charlotte Hornets become the New Orleans Hornets, then become the Pelicans, and the Charlotte Bobcats become the Charlotte Hornets again. So the first Charlotte Hornets team left for New Orleans, and then the Hornets, then New Orleans ended up becoming the Pelicans. Same city, same arena, but then the Bobcats become the Hornets. So crazy how things change. And then for a few years, once Katrina hit, the Hornets/Pelicans moved from New Orleans to Oklahoma City, and then the Seattle Supersonics become the Oklahoma City Thunder. So remember, Kevin Durant was drafted by the Sonics in 2007, and then of course Sonics become the Oklahoma City Thunder, and then Oklahoma City won the NBA title last year and didn't win this year. But it's crazy how things change. Some teams leave, some cities. I think the Kings ended up starting in Kansas City and moved. So it's just crazy how many franchises and cities have seen teams move. I mean, you look at the National Hockey League, for instance. The Flames started in Atlanta and then relocated to Calgary. And then I think the Flames ended up winning a title in 1989. Oof. But in hockey, it's easier because the Flames, Oilers, and Canucks all sort of near each other. So teams could play 3 teams on a Canadian West Coast trip. So, and, the Battle of Alberta is spicy. How about the Minnesota North Stars become the Dallas Stars? Yeah, the Minnesota North Stars then become the Dallas Stars. This one's interesting. The Quebec Nordiques become the Colorado Avalanche. I think this was after the 94-95 season. The Nordiques move to Denver, become the Avs, and then Colorado wins the Stanley Cup just down the road at Old Miami Arena, sweeping the Florida Panthers. Those in the 96 Stanley Cup final. And then, of course, the Avs later won Stanley Cups in 2001 and 2022. I said there'd be something about the Carolina Hurricanes. Well, this is about the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hartford Whalers, sorry, Connecticut, but the Hartford Whalers leave for Raleigh and become the Carolina Hurricanes. Okay, so imagine there will be people there might be 1 or 2 games, 1 game a year where the Hurricanes were like an old school Hartford Whalers shirt. Shirt like a throwback. This one's all over the place. The Winnipeg Jets, the first Winnipeg Jet team, leaves Winnipeg, becomes the Arizona Coyotes. Then the Atlanta Thrashers, I think in 2011, leave Atlanta, become the Winnipeg Jets. So 1 Jet team gone, 1 Jet team in. Then a couple years ago, the Coyotes moved from Arizona to Utah and became the Utah Ma'am. So the Jets move from Winnipeg to Arizona to Utah. The Thrashers move from Atlanta to Winnipeg. So just crazy how things change. You imagine teams have franchise, now they don't, now they do, now they don't. Now it's like, what's going to happen next? And by the way, Vegas winning a crazy game at home last night, 5-4 double overtime. Mitchell Marner getting 3 goals. Then the Hurricanes overcoming a 4-0 deficit, tying the game, and then Shea Theodore wins in a double overtime. crazy, crazy, crazy series. We'll see what happens. Game 4 of that series is Tuesday night in at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. I think ESPN's got the call. And now the NFL. Whew. How about the Rams? I've got a question for everybody. Where did the Rams franchise originally begin? It's not St. Louis. It's not Los Angeles. The Cleveland Rams. And this is, I guess you would say, a reason why the Rams are in Los Angeles and not Cleveland. Because in the 1945 NFL Championship game, the weather for that game was atrocious. Below zero wind chill. There were, I mean, I don't know how true it is, but there have been reports of fans wearing like wool. I mean, everyone looked like they were dressed for the Iditarod. I mean, fans brought in hot coffee. Some fans were by hay bale. That was a frigid game. I mean, Hall of Famer Bob Waterfield was the Rams starter that day. I think the Rams ended up winning 15-14. And then after that, the Rams moved to LA. And then 95, the Rams moved to St. Louis, become the greatest show on turf. And then about a decade ago, a little less, the Rams moved back to LA and now play, of course, at SoFi. They've won a Super Bowl. And you know what? Might end up having another chance for a Super Bowl this year. But you imagine the Cleveland Rams. Now they play in SoFi. I mean, I think the field might be a little better than the frozen ice spots in 1945, right? And now the Chargers. Now this is interesting. The LA Chargers started, I believe it's an AFL franchise in the 60s, moved to San Diego, and then same time as the Rams, Chargers leave San Diego for LA. Ended up playing a few years in an MLS facility, and now, of course, share SoFi. The Dallas Texans, not the Dallas Texans that went bankrupt in the 50s, but the Dallas Texans, of course, AFL franchise, I believe, become the Kansas City Chiefs, and of course we know what happens. The Chiefs won Super Bowl 4, and then of course the Mahomes Andy Reid era, where the Chiefs have won 3 Super Bowls and played in 2 more. And we'll see what happens this year with the Chiefs, but it's going to be interesting to see. The Cardinals. The Cardinals started in Chicago, then moved to St. Louis, and I think it was 87 or 88, leave St. Louis for Arizona. I think originally became the Phoenix Cardinals, and now, of course, the Arizona Cardinals. So, again, teams moving all over the place. I'm going to save the controversial ones for the end. And right now, I'm going to explain why the Bears would consider moving. Well, you look at the Bears situation right now. Obviously, Soldier Field's been the home forever. But really, it's a small stadium by today's standards. Chicago's got 0 chance to get a Super Bowl or even an NFL draft. And frankly, I think the Bears probably deserve a new stadium, but for whatever reason, whether it's, that the Bears, because we know the McCaskey family is not the richest by any measure, and obviously with a deal like this, there's going to be some money from the state. And whether it's a game of poker like the Bear, because I don't think the McCaskey family wants to move to Hammond, Indiana. And even though it's not a long trip, the Chicago Bears make total sense. And yes, the Giants and Jets technically play in New Jersey and not New York, but that's like 20 minutes away. And I mean, the Bills play in Orchard Park. The Cowboys play in Arlington, Texas. So I don't think it'll be a problem. But for the Bears, the most importantly, can Chicago get a stadium that's state of the art and can host not just Super Bowls but big time sporting events? Maybe WrestleMania, maybe a college football playoff national championship, because I think Chicago's got more than a few dozen hotel rooms. Not all of them might be for other needs now, but I think we'd love to see Chicago to the Super Bowl. It's one of those cities that I think should get a Super Bowl. Now the fun ones: the Cleveland Browns and the Colts. Well, Cleveland and sports franchises. Well, Cleveland seemingly always goes, right? And I think we're still in the 95 season. Alt Modell basically said, you know what, we're moving. We're moving to Baltimore for whatever. And so the Browns left and became the Baltimore Ravens. And the Baltimore Ravens' first draft pick, John and Lockton. But you imagine Cleveland, 50 years of watching Browns football, 50 years of going to Browns game, and now nothing, no team. And yes, everybody knows why Alt Modell left. But it was money. He was broke. I mean, Cleveland Municipal Stadium was a dump. And when the Cleveland Indians left for Jacobs Field, Cleveland Municipal Stadium lost so much extra money that really Alt Modell, unless the city of Cleveland or the state was going to give money for the football team, Alt Modell didn't have a choice. Much like the Dodgers are just moving from New York from Brooklyn to Los Angeles. Guess what's going to happen? Money trumps everything. And the Ravens and the city of Baltimore was willing to give money for a new stadium. And for whatever reason, the city of Cleveland focused on a new baseball stadium for the Indians, a new basketball arena for the Cavaliers, and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And guess what the Browns got? A dilapidating, collapsing piece of you-know-what. And, to this day, you wonder if, Alt Modell wasn't exactly a rich owner. I think he bought everything on credit. I can't confirm, but don't think he was one. He's definitely not Stan Kroenke, I'll tell you that. And so the Browns then come back to the NFL as an expansion team in '99, and we know how Tim Couch. But oddly enough, the same thing happened to Baltimore 12 years out. The Baltimore Colts, I can't believe I'm saying this. The Baltimore Colts, one of the most storied franchises in NFL history leaves Baltimore for the city of Indianapolis. They left in the middle of the night, before the 83 draft. John Elway and his father were worried A, about the Colts' immature owner, and B, worried that he may move the team out of town. And so they basically said, you know what? I'm not playing for Baltimore. Turned out John and Jack Elway were 100% right. Because after the 83 season, I think it was before the 84 draft, the Colts pack up. Remember seeing pack up, anybody in Baltimore could see the old Mayflower trucks leaving the Colts headquarters in Baltimore and heading to Indianapolis. And frankly, Baltimore not having an NFL team just would have felt odd. Especially going to Indianapolis. I understand why. But thankfully the Ravens are back, and the Ravens have been excellent, won some Super Bowls, but I mean, I don't know. The city of Baltimore not having an NFL team felt me. Just like Cleveland, but thankfully, hopefully my Jacks don't leave for London, because by the time this stream's done, they could end up in London for all we know. I don't think that's going to happen, but just wanted to spend half hour, 40 minutes talking about franchises that have moved, and hopefully we don't see any other teams move, because I like having the Jacksonville Jaguars. I like having the Denver Broncos, all these teams. But we know things are going to change. We know franchises are going to come and go. But hopefully, as we approach 9:41 here in Salem, hopefully every franchise is happy and maybe we all can win. So thanks for tuning in to tonight's episode of Dylan's History of Sports, franchises that have moved. This is the Big D signing off for now.